Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where we are currently working a little bit on optimization. And actually, we do have this memory leak going on because, here, let me show you. We're currently using about 6 gigs of RAM in Unity Editor when we're not doing anything. If I end this, or rather if I just make sure that we're saved and restart Unity, then it'll go down to using much less RAM. So let's go ahead and do that quick. There is that little memory leak going on. Unity, come on, you can exit. There we go, finally. Then we fire up Unity once more. And we go on in here. And would you look at that? Unity is using 500 megs of RAM instead of 6 gigs of RAM. So there's that. Okay, so with that being the case, let's go ahead and real quick show where we are right now and a small problem that I discovered in between episodes. It's not a major issue. I mean, yeah, we are still a little bit slow on the loading, but that's okay for right now. I mean, we can deal with this. There are those garbage collection spikes that pop up, and that's something we might want to do something about if we can get away with it. Like, we may want to do away with some of the new calls if we can, if we're not going to be keeping them around. But for right now, this'll be okay. I mean, you can see these garbage collection spikes pretty regular, and it's just a bit of a problem. But that's not what I was actually talking about. That's something we can address here in a moment. But for right now, we'll go ahead and let this generate all the way up. There we go. And what I discovered is, while we were loading, it was actually still possible to scroll, and you can see that we still have those garbage collection spikes going on for a little bit here and there. So that garbage collection spike is definitely something I want to address here quite soon. But I also want to address the fact that we can scroll around during the loading screen, which isn't something that we want. So we can always just check the override controls, right? I mean, we have that checked right now, and then we can uncheck that once we're actually good to go. So that should be fine. So let's go ahead and do that. We are going to need, in the load screen, a reference to the strategy camera. In addition to this. So let's go ahead and do GameObjectGo equals GameObject.find main camera. And then we're going to go ahead and say go.getComponent camera. So we're going to go through and do that, and then we're also going to do go.getComponent, and this is going to be strategy camera dot override camera equals false. There we go. So we're going to start it with override camera being true. There we go. Excellent. The other thing I want to look into is those garbage collection spikes. So let's see here. We are creating a new building. We're instantly adding that into a list. And then we're modifying it. We do have this new vector 3 here. Now, one thing we could potentially do to get rid of this is vector3.up. So I'm going to leave this here for now. Vector3.up times 60f times random.range 0, 5. And that should do the same thing without a new call. There we go. As for how much garbage collection that'll save, who knows? I mean, we're doing this 13 million times, so we're adding a new list of ints here and a new list of vector 3s here. That's all adding to the biome hexes list, so I don't think there's any way to avoid that. This being a new int 3, we are using this very heavily, so I don't think there's a way around that. Now, this int3 here, do we use this int3 again? We might. New building.location.world hex, biome hex, and neighbor hex. I mean, we add it to the neighbors, so I think we use it that way. What else do we have for new in here? We've got this. But each of those do actually need to be new. And we instantly assign it and use it, so it shouldn't be garbage collected anyway. Now, all of these variables being declared here that go out of scope might have something to do with it. But ultimately, I think more than anything, it's just the fact that we're doing 13 million of these. Well, technically we're not doing 13 million, right? We're doing 73 times 2,500. We're doing 182,500 of these. You know, a few. So yeah, I feel like this is about as optimized as we're gonna get it right now. I mean, we can probably get this more optimized later on. We've got the Quaternion.Euler here. I mean, there's just not that much more we can do to optimize this, all things considered. So let's just go ahead and run this, but before we do this, I do want to actually put that timer in. So let's go ahead and go into our hex manager here, and let's just time how long it takes to do all of these. So let's go ahead and, oh man, now I've forgotten how I did it. Ugh. Unity time function. Okay. How to measure execution time of a function. There we go. So we would go ahead and do system.time. Or we could use the datetime class, I suppose. I don't really want to use the stopwatch class. I don't think that's really worth time doing, realistically. Okay, so how do I want to do this? Oh boy. Measure execution time of a function. So, I mean, one thing we could do, I suppose, is just do like float time equals time.realtime since startup. And then we could say float realtime equals time.realtime since startup minus time. And is this in seconds? Yes, this is in seconds. So debug.log time for biome generation plus, actually let's just do a string.format. I like the cleanness of it. String.format time for biome generation, and then 0 seconds. Then we will pass in our real time. Like so. Okay. Excellent. And that way we don't have to concatenate any strings either. I just kind of prefer that. Okay, so we'll see how long this actually takes. We'll let it run all the way through. And yeah, you can see these garbage collection spikes when it drops down to like 1 frame per second for a frame. When the CPU goes to like, yeah, 200 milliseconds there. Most of these are quite fast, most of these frames, but yikes, that was the slow one. There's another one. Over 100 milliseconds. 600 milliseconds. 400. I mean, the other thing we could do is we could try to speed this up by chunking some of these. But we can see here it took 51 seconds to execute that. So what I mean by chunking is... No, we don't need the Operation Logistics thumbnail. Go away. What I mean by chunking is simply this. We can go into here, and rather than yield return nulling after every single one of these, we can potentially yield return null after an entire row of them. Now, that's definitely going to be much longer frame times, but that does mean that there will be less overhead between frames, and we're still going to get 50 updates to the load screen, so each update should be exactly 2%. Holy crap, that is way faster load times. Okay, it's slowing down a bit now. But yeah, that was way faster. Time for biome generation of 20 seconds. That is much more acceptable, honestly. And here's the thing, we can make it even faster if we only update this out here. So that way it doesn't have to do any of this. And we'll see if that's even faster than 19.4 seconds. It should be a fair amount faster. Maybe 2 to 3 seconds faster? And maybe some less garbage allocation as well. Let's see here. Yeah, that was about 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds faster. So that's not bad. Well, that is a nice reduction in time, honestly. So we've optimized this fairly well. I feel like a 20-second load time is acceptable. So with that being the case, the question is, what do we need to do next? We've got our load screen implemented. I think the major thing that we need to do next is in the world hex, we need to go looking for a new world hex for neighbors, because currently we have no way to travel from world hex to world hex in terms of our neighbors. So, the way we need to do this is a couple of things. We need to determine, are we an edge tile looking to go off the map? If so, we don't really need to do anything at all. Okay, and then the next question is, if not... Okay, so the are we an edge tile and looking to go off the map, it's very important that both of those are considered. Because if we are an edge tile but not looking to go off the map, then we don't care. Realistically. So, if not, we know that we're one of the entrance tiles. How can we use that information to our advantage? Well, fairly easily, actually. We know that, for example, if we are, say, hypothetically, that... Come on, go ahead and compile. There we go. So say hypothetically that, let's see, this is Z up here. So say hypothetically that mapx21 is here. This is a world hex, and there is another world hex up here. And we can determine that easily enough. And this is the tile we have selected, and this is the building tile in question. This building tile should connect to this building tile, but in this world hex up here, in this biome hex within that world hex. That's all hard codable. Very hard codable. And I think that's going to be what we're going to go ahead and do. So we know that we're one of the entrance tiles. With that knowledge, and the knowledge that we're not going off the map, we can very easily hard code where we're going. Okay, so that is what we're going to do in the next episode. See you all then.